Well, hello there. It is Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, 7 and 1, After the Bike Chase, music by John Williams, orchestrated by Thomas Newman, and a little bit of oral dictation by me. It's a really, really short one, hence no video of me today. There were a couple of errors I noticed in Mr. Newman's part. First of all, he gives a B flat at the beginning, which it definitely isn't at all. It's that A minor major ninth chord, basically a sort of classic jazz voicing. Also, you can compare it with the James Bond chord. It's very, very similar indeed. And it just uses notes of the A harmonic minor. Like that. And we get horns and cello in a combination, unison. And then we've got double basses and cellos with single notes the first time that comes with a descending bass, sort of kind of treading water type sort of, it's just dyadic. There's no sort of real emotiveness at that point. More dyads there. Another bit of what I call it treading water. In other words, it's sort of like not much is happening, but kind of there's a little bit of a sense of either unease or expectancy, perhaps, with that. And then another kind of weird misprint. I think Mr. Newman had written in the actual sounding pitches of these, and you get a really weird sort of dyad of C's and G's and stuff, when actually it's an E minor chord in first inversion, and with this sort of a sort of another sort of extreme jazz voicing of either a rootless D flat minor 13 with a sharp 11, or E minor with a chordal voicing, which feels quite familiar. It feels that sort of sharp 11 type sort of stuff, definitely. Anyway, I've sort of gone, actually, it's E minor with a major 7th, add a flat 5, add a flat 11. That's what you get. But also, I've ignored that because it sounds like one of those sort of almost, Tristan and Isolde type appoggiatura moments. But either way, it's quite fun. And then we've got this sort of horns, all in minor triads, all block chordal harmony, against a sort of umpar jazz bass type sort of idea, which is where we get our sort of wrong note bass or slash chords, if you're a jazzer. And it just sort of remains. It's like a sort of slightly comedic stuff that we found in, well, A New Hope with the Jawas, really. That it's sort of common there, and various other bits of Jabba and all sorts of other bits. I'm thinking of Jar Jar as well in The Phantom Menace. So we get sort of little points where we get that little alpha chord, that sort of major minor thing, which is just, it could be octatonic, but it's also, mode 1 of the melodic minor scale as well, which is Ionian flat 3, or just a major scale with a flat 3. In other words, kind of a minor scale with a sharp 6, sharp 7. Anyway, that continues. We get another sort of inadvertent slash type sort of things. For people who are following the wrong note bass method, then it's +8. In other words, 8 semitones away from the root note of what goes on. And that's one of the sort of popular things that he kind of uses. But I can't help thinking that it's sort of almost inadvertent. Although, maybe it's not. We don't know. There's no real way of knowing, other than to actually ask him. And then maybe he wouldn't know, or wouldn't be willing to tell us. So here we've got a sort of anticipatory C sharp, but again, it's a sort of little umpar type sort of type of idea. Then we've got an unusual bass clarinet solo, ending with a sort of F augmented sort of arpeggiaic figure, with some more dyads, which is then imitated, but sort of dyadic there. And then we get the full triad, which is why I put A minor there, even though it's not actually present in the chord. It's just sort of perhaps implied at that point. But again, dyads are quite a good way of sort of not giving everything away in one go, keeping things slightly unemotive. Then we're back to the horns, like that. And there's all sorts of these sort of triadic things that appear in both Return of the Jedi and also Empire, and all through the franchise, really. Yes, and unusually the bit here is we have clarinet 1 on the top note, and then clarinet 2 and bassoon as a little blend on the bottom note. Then we have more of a feeling of a sort of C minor with a major seventh. This sort of idea. And it's basically just doing the same sort of thing as we had at this point, which was bar 11. So a sort of precursor of that. And then it just trills on the E flat or D sharp trill, and then segues immediately into the new 7M2 Enter the Ewok track, which I'll do next time I kind of do another video. That is all, really. Let's think, is there anything else of extreme interest? Not really. I've kind of made that up. It doesn't really exist, but I kind of thought, well, okay, it's either 2 clarinets and a bass clarinet, or cor anglais, 1 of the clarinets and a bass clarinet. It doesn't really make a huge amount of difference either way. All that the main melodic material is the piccolo and bassoon, which is a really weird combination, actually. Which is sort of typical. It's a really typical Williams figure, actually, and some very unusual sort of just solo violin. Tutti violin 1, obviously, but just on its own sort of thing without second violins, and then the usual sort of blends that we get to see. So all of those at the top, that's played by the second inside desk of violin 1s, and then the outside desk play that as a octave. Then we have a bit of blend like that as well, so that's the only thing here. Sort of classic root 5th 3rd all over the place. It's just a completely very, very typical voicing. Slightly unusual here with these chords, like that, with a very high A flat on the double bass. Probably quite hard to tune that, actually, I would have thought, but there we go. What else? Again, very little. The interesting thing here is that the cor anglais, let's put it into C. We've got a little bit of enclosure there. So we've got oboe 1, cor anglais, and then oboe 2 in the bottom, which is fine because it's sort of high enough not to honk at that point. So that's quite nice, and then it's in a nice range for the core. So that's probably why that was done. Otherwise, it's just sort of first, second, third in order on the flutes as well. I think that was really it. We're then into more of the next cue, which I'll go into in much more depth than this time around. And that's kind of it, really. Very, very short little cue, quite fun, quite sort of jazzy in some ways. And that's about it, really. So I will look forward to seeing you next time I see you. Bye for now.